Adam Young, the owner of Sift Bake Shop in the beautiful town of Mystic, is here, and he is helping us make a beautiful Yule log, but it's not the kind that you put on your TV and watch.
Exactly. This looks amazing, Adam. How are you?
Thank you very much.
Oh,
I'm
it's
wonderful.
It's a pleasure to see you.
Great to be back. So,
How do we pronounce what that is?
Bûche de Noël, and that actually directly translates to Christmas log. So, you know, we've obviously evolved a little bit over the years here with our Bûche de Noëls, but originally it was kind of the Yule log that you see with the chocolate icing that's designed to look like a traditional Christmas burning log. So, in this case, I've used flavors of cherries and dark chocolate, and this is
two of my all-time favorite things: cherries and dark chocolate.
Oh my God!
Delicious, right? And we actually use these really fabulous Luxardo cherries. These are packed in kind of almost like a brandy, and then it's aged, and as it concentrates and evaporates, the sugars concentrate, and it really creates this delicious, really rich, unique cherry.
May I try one?
Absolutely. So
Kara, you wanna
definitely
try one?
not your typical maraschino.
Truth disclosed, I tried one already this morning.
Oh my
They're
God.
very good.
They're really kind of
They look
double-check
like
it.
black olives. I knew they weren't, but they're so rich.
Sure.
That is amazing. What
much different than your
Oh
typical.
my God, that
right.
is so flavorful.
Wow, that's
So-
amazing. Okay.
And so back to the bûche, you know, what's very important here is it's all about the sponge cake, because that really needs to be a strong vessel to support everything else that's inside the cake.
Okay.
So what we have here is some whipped egg yolks. So this is just egg yolks and sugar. And you can see how much volume we've gotten out of this. This is all air, right?
Those are just the yolks.
Just the yolks and some sugar.
So you put that in your KitchenAid mixer and just whipped it.
High speed for about 5 minutes. Yep,
Okay.
until thick, pale, glossy, and full of air. That's going to help leaven our sponge, make it
amazing.
super light and delicate.
And was that whole eggs or just like white?
Just the yolks.
Just the yolks?
Just the yolks, and then the whites are right here, obviously. We're going
okay.
to whip
I
these
was wondering that was yellow.
to stiff peak.
And then, is that a meringue, Adam?
It is essentially meringue. Yep, so egg whites and sugar whipped together, again, to stiff peak. So
Okay.
the more of the air that you get into your sponge cake, the better leavening, the more delicate sponge you're going to have. So I also like to use, in this case, cake flour, or pastry flour. Two things you have to know: a little cocoa powder. I like to sift my dry ingredients twice for this, so that does two things. Cake flour is very starchy and it tends to clump up, so you get out all of your impurities this way. And also,
is cake flour different than all-purpose flour?
it is. Yeah, it's a little less protein, which creates gluten because you don't want any gluten in your cakes. It's more starchy, creates a more delicate crumb, right? But it is lump, as you can see here. So I like to sift it twice.
So if
and
you're going
also,
to bake, you should use cake flour usually?
for cakes, yes, cake or pastry flour, and then for bread, you want to use bread or high gluten flour because you want that elasticity. But in this case, you want a delicate crumb, right? So we're going to sift it twice. It's going to ensure there's no impurities in the flour and get out the lumps, and it's going to aerate the flour a little bit as well. So again, we're implementing that air into the sponge cake.
It's really.
There's so much science in baking.
So much
It's so
science
cool.
and so much artistry as well.
You know, there's a lot to know, and it's all about variables, techniques, like I always say, you know, and controlling those variables, and that's what makes, you know, I feel like culinary or savory is very intuitive. You can season, you can salt, you can flavor, and you can kind of manipulate. This is very
By the book.
right, and the ingredients are not just there for flavor. Each one provides a function, you know. So that's why everything really needs to be controlled. So we're going to very gently fold this cocoa and cake flour into the ribboned egg yolks with the sugar, maybe halfway, and then we're going to go in with our meringue.
Okay.
Right?
Look how fluffy it is.
Yeah, very,
So
very
pretty.
stiff peaks,
It's
right?
absolutely beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
There you go. I was just telling Adam my KitchenAid mixer broke over the weekend, so if anyone knows how to fix it. For all my
You
favorite
send it
things.
back to the company and say this
It's
broke.
15 years old.
Mine is too, and I'm sending it back to the company.
They might,
Why
you know,
do you have a
work
KitchenAid
it out
mixer?
for you.
I just want to know.
It's been in the garage
Doing a lot of
for 15
baking
years.
at the house. Scott, yeah.
It's one of those things that you register for, and I probably haven't used it enough for it to break, but I want to know why it's not working. Anyway.
So here we are, really delicate sponge, right?
Look at that, how
really
pretty.
full of air. And the eggs and the egg yolks and egg whites are, you know, high protein. That's going to give it the structure. So it's going to allow this to be flexible as we roll it around the sponge. It's
We've
not gonna
only got
fall
a
apart.
minute.
I'll
sorry
be quick.
about
That's
that.
all right. Sheet tray.
Yep.
Spread it out, thin layer, 325. Comes out, it cools, right?
Okay.
Parchment paper.
We're going to, navigate over here. A little bit of chocolate whipped cream.
Okay.
Right? Our finished sponge on top here. A few of our Luxardo cherries
There we go.
throughout the...
So this is, you're going to have cherries on the inside and on the outside.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Kind of throughout here.
Beautiful.
Right? And then you're going to use this parchment paper, fresh piece,
I'm
right?
going to roll.
You're going to roll it as tight as you can.
Oh, as tight as you can. Okay.
Because you really want to see that pinwheel effect.
And you're not
There we go.
pinching, you're more just using the paper.
Just using the paper to really guide the cake to where it needs to be. And then what I like to do is I really like to use my offset spatula and really tuck that in and pinch it. And that's going to provide a really nice cylindrical shape, right?
Yeah.
So fillings, it can be jelly, it can be different types of nut paste, different creams, chocolate mousse. Let this sit in the fridge at least for a few hours before taking it out and molding it. You can do a simple garnish like powdered sugar, or you can get something a little more elaborate where you glaze it with chocolate ganache. A few of those Luxardo cherries, some cherry puree, and a little bit of golden chocolate embellishment. So
Well,
I'm
it's
sure
actually-
we're gonna make it at home. It's gonna look just like that. No.
Just like
no,
that.
but that's
Very
a great.
simple.
But at least if you're trying on your own, and you can also order these beautiful creations or pick them up at the Sift Bake Shop right in Mystic.
absolutely, this is on our holiday menu.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
For
thank
more
you.
information about Sift Bake Shop, you can visit the website siftbakeshopmystic.com. You can also order cakes like the Yule log and pastries for the holidays right on Adam's website. Oh my goodness gracious.
And don't forget, he is America's best baker, so your guests are going to appreciate a treat from this shop. It's located right on Water Street in Mystic.